Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's tutorial is a little bit different. I'm working on a new face today. This is Abbie and she's kindly offered to model for me. We've created a warm smoky eye which is perfect for all eye colours but particularly blue and green. So Abbie's already cleaned and moisturised her face before coming over, so we're going to move straight onto the skin with the Murad Oil Control Mattifying Lotion. This helps to keep shine at bay by balancing oil throughout the day. It also contains an SPF of 15. If you're going to be outside in the day, I would still put on an additional SPF underneath this after your moisturiser. I like to apply this lotion through the T section of the face as this is mostly where people tend to get oily. This is a non-comedogenic moisturiser, so it won't clog your pores, and by absorbing that oil throughout the day you're less likely to break out. Next up, I'm moving on to the BECCA First Light Priming Filter. I use this on all skin tones and all skin types. It's a great way to rehydrate and refresh your skin. It contains a lavender pearl complex which helps to brighten lackluster skin. It really helps to plump your skin as well because it contains prickly pear and ginger, and it's got a beautiful lemony citrus scent to it. Next I'm going to apply BECCA's Backlight Priming Filter. You can use this over the entire face if you want that soft focused radiant glow. I tend to apply it just to the tops of the cheekbones. Under a lightweight foundation it gives you that beautiful glow from within. But if you're a fan of that really healthy dewy appearance, then you can apply it all over the face. It's also been designed to work well with oily and combination skin. It contains BECCA's proprietary blend of crushed pearls, that's why it gives you that beautiful glow. Like me, Abbie suffers with slightly dehydrated cheeks, and if you have dry and dehydrated skin, a great primer to use is the Bare Minerals Good Hydrations Primer. It's specifically designed for dry skin and contains glycerin and hyaluronic acid for long hydration. Now I'm going to prime Abbie's lids using a paint pot by MAC. This one is in the shade Painterly. I actually hadn't pressed record, so you can't really see how well it's neutralised Abbie's lids. But it's balanced out the skin tone and will work as a great base for eyeshadow. I'm going to dust some Mercier Secret Brightening Powder over the top of that. Paint pots do set in place, but as we are going to be using some matte eyeshadows, I want to make sure that the skin has a nice silky finish to it. That way the matte shadows will blend a lot easier. Abbie and I recently attended the IMATS London and she picked up the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette, which I've already got. So I thought it would be a good idea to create a look using this palette so that she can watch it when she's at home and recreate the look. So the colour that I'm laying down on the inner half of the eyelid is a copper shimmer with a gold pearl shift to it. And the brush I'm using to apply is the MAC 239 flat shader brush, which really packs on the colour. If you've seen my tutorials before, you know I like to layer products. This is great for longevity but also builds up the colour intensity. So I've layered this colour twice and I feel like it really helps to make that gold pearl shift colour much more prominent on the eyes. I'm using a round top blending brush to buff out the seams so there's no harsh edges and it's seamless from eyeshadow to skin. Next up I'm going to use a deep metallic red, and this contains micro shimmer particles of gold. The placement for this eyeshadow is directly in the centre of the mobile eyelid, and we're going to use a tapping motion to feather a little bit of this colour over the seam of the first eyeshadow that we've applied on the inner half. As I did before, I'm layering this eyeshadow to build up the colour. Then I'm going back in with my round top blending brush to buff out the seams at the very top of the eyeshadow. Going back to my Naked Heat palette, I'm taking a deep metallic burgundy coppery shade. And I'm still using the same flat shader brush. Because we've gone from light to dark, we can still use the same brush. And I'm patting this on the outer half of the mobile eyelid. And again, feathering that across the seam of the middle eyeshadow. When you're doing the feathering motion, you're using a very light hand to tap the colours together across the seams, thereby creating that beautiful gradient from light to dark. Moving on to our first matte eyeshadow from the palette, this one is a deep terracotta shade. And I'm using this on a small fluffy blending brush to buff out the seams of the eyeshadow throughout the socket line up towards the eyebrow bone. I'm only using a very small amount of this eyeshadow and I'm working it in circular motions with a really light hand. The concentration of colour is on the outer edge, and then using what's left on the bristles I start to pull that colour upwards and also through the socket towards the inner corner of the eye. Now the blend doesn't have to be perfect with this brush because we are going to go in with a round top brush and buff out the seams again to make sure that it's as seamless as we can get it. Having applied the Mercier Secret Under Eye Brightening Powder first really helps to blend these matte eyeshadows out because the skin is silky smooth. You will get a ton of fallout with these eyeshadows, so make sure you do your eyes before you do your base. We're going in with another matte eyeshadow. This one is a burgundy. And using the same small fluffy blending brush, we're working this on the outer third of that mobile lid. Keep it to the very outer edge and then softly feather that colour forward. You will slightly overlap the copper shade that we applied here, but the shimmer will still come through. Having a matte finish on this very outer edge is going to help to deepen that smoke, and that's the look that we're going for. This is a good tip for those of you with hooded eyes. Once you've done the majority of your colour blending, look directly ahead into a mirror and apply the colour while your eyes open. If you do all of your colour blending with your eye looking down, when you look up, if you've got hooded eyes, that tends to disappear. Abbie doesn't have hooded eyes, but on all of my clients I always get them to open their eyes and I apply a little bit of colour through the socket while their eyes open. I'm now just going in on top of the lid and reapplying some of those shimmer colours and then going in with a clean blending brush to soften all the edges. Taking a small detailer brush, I'm taking the same colours that we've got on the top lid underneath those lower lashes. Again, going from the lightest shade under the tear duct to the darkest shade on the outer edge. Now finished with the majority of the eyeshadow, I'm cleaning up under the eyes to remove any of the fall down. Along the waterline, I'm taking this pencil by Milk Cosmetics. It's their all day everyday eyeliner in the shade Bloodshot. This burgundy toned eyeliner really helps to make the blue in Abbie's eyes look a lot more punchy, but it's also really in keeping with that amber hue that we've got in the eyes. The tones together work really well. So I've run that along the entire waterline and I've used it to tightline the eyes. I'm now going to use the Bobbi Brown Long Wear Gel Eyeliner in the shade 2, which is Sepia Ink. And this is going along the top lash line to define it and make the lashes look thicker without it being too intense. Having this along the top lash line is also a great way to disguise the band of the eyelashes. And it obviously makes it look a little bit more smoky. I also decided to add a little bit of this gel liner to the waterline halfway across. Then before I do mascara, I do one last blend around the outer edges, and I'm using a rounded top blending brush to do this. The mascara I always gravitate to for all of my clients is the Eyeshadow Sports Waterproof Mascara. This is a fibre enhancing mascara, so it lengthens your lashes. The formulation is boosted with collagen and also 11 fruit extracts to promote lash growth. But most importantly for me, it is 100% waterproof, sweat-proof, budge-proof. It really doesn't go anywhere. For me, I don't need to build up this mascara to get extra length because we're going to be applying some falsies. And the set I'm using is by Eldora Lashes, and these are the H135 lashes. Okay, moving on to skin, I'm going to be using the NARS Natural Radiant Foundation. I am loving this at the moment. I like to apply this foundation with a duo fibre brush because you don't apply too much of the product. I work that into the skin very briefly before going in with a sponge. This one is a cheapy one from Primark. It costs about £1.50 and it does the job beautifully. This is a full coverage foundation, but it is very lightweight. A little does go a long way. Even if you apply a sheer coat of this foundation, you'll get a medium coverage, but the pigment in it is quite strong. So if you want a full coverage, lightweight foundation that gives you a natural radiance and you are of a normal to combination to oily skin type, then this foundation should be good for you. The formulation is fragrance free, it's sweat resistant, transfer resistant, it's non-comedogenic, so the idea is that it won't clog your pores, but everything will clog your pores if you don't wash your face properly. And as this is quite a full coverage foundation, you should always be washing your face twice in the evening to really make sure it's completely gone off of your skin, otherwise your skin is more prone to suffer from breakouts. And you can blame the product, but actually it's probably down to the fact that you haven't cleaned it off properly. And the same goes for your tools. Your brushes and your sponges are constantly picking up dead skin cells and bacteria can grow on that, and then we're putting that on our skin day after day. Products have been designed to be non-irritating to the skin. If you are suffering from breakouts after using a product, try looking at your skincare and your brush hygiene. Moving on to concealer, I'm using the Mercier Flawless Fusion Concealer, and I'm using this underneath Abbie's eyes to lift and brighten this area. There are 12 shades available and 3 undertones, neutral, warm and cool. On Abbie I've mixed together neutral 1 and 2. The shade that I've mixed matches Abbie's skin tone really well. It is ever so slightly lighter for that brightening effect, but we haven't gone a whole shade lighter as I don't like that look and it's very unnatural. Formulation is really lightweight, it's not at all drying. This is also sweat resistant, water resistant and humidity resistant for long wear. To set that in place, I'm using the Mercier Secret Brightening Powder for under eyes. This formulation has been designed to work on all skin tones. It's a transparent white powder, that's what gives the brightening effect, so it shouldn't be used over the entire face, otherwise you might get a white cast. The powder has micronized pigments in it, so it's designed not to settle in fine lines or accentuate wrinkles or shadows, and use a light hand when applying it so you don't disturb your concealer underneath. Moving on to eyebrows, I'm going to use MAC's eyebrow pencil in Fling. This is a light ash taupey shade, which is perfect for Abbie because she's got blonde hair and her brows are naturally quite ashy. So I don't want to take them too dark. I use this colour for the majority of the eyebrow, thickening and adding a bit more shape before going in with MAC's eyebrow pencil in Stylized. I'm using this on the arch of the eyebrow and the tail of the brow, and then feathering that colour through the centre of the brow to create a nice ombre effect so it's naturally lighter at the front and darker towards the tail. On the inner corners of the eyes, I'm going to use BECCA's Royal Glow highlighter, but to make it a little bit more punchy, I'm spritzing my brush with a little bit of MAC's Fix Plus and then applying the highlighter with a damp brush. I'm also taking a small amount of that underneath the arch of the eyebrow. To warm up Abbie's skin, I'm going to use the Chanel Soleil Tendre Chanel, aka Bronze Universelle. And I'm going to use my duo fibre brush to apply this to the skin. I'm roughly working that around the hairline where the sun would naturally hit, and then I'm going to use my makeup sponge to really press that into the skin, and you'll see afterwards it looks super natural. The Chanel one is beautiful, but if you're on a budget, Bourjois do a version of this and it's called a bronzing primer. It is true that you get what you pay for. This Chanel one is really beautiful. It smells divine, it feels lovely, the texture is beautiful and it lasts really well, and it gives this wonderfully sun-kissed appearance to the skin. So although we're not using it to contour, we are still sculpting the face by applying it to the cheekbone area where the sun would naturally hit. It makes the face look less flat and more shapely. I'm taking the Kat Von D Shade and Light contour palette and using the lightest shade to apply this into the hollows of the cheeks. This is creating a false shadow appearance which just makes the cheekbone look more sunken, and it just makes your face look more sculpted. Obviously this is just an illusion, but it does work wonders, especially when you're working on shaping your nose. It can really help to create more balance to your face. With Abbie's nose, I'm just taking a little bit along either side of the tip to create more balance. I always like to go back over it with my foundation brush to make sure it's nice and subtle. Over the entire face, I'm going to use the Too Faced Peach Blur Finishing Powder. It says this is best applied with your fingertips or a sponge, but I'm just going to use a brush because I just want a very light dusting. For blush, I'm going to use Benefit Cosmetics California Blush. This is a beautiful pinky peach tone. And I'm going to swipe this onto the apples of the cheeks and then use my foundation brush to knock that colour back, so we've only got a very subtle flush on the cheeks. I decided to put a little bit higher up as well, and again knocking that back with my foundation brush. Next I'm taking this Nude Sticks Intense Matte Lip and Cheek Pencil in the shade Belle, and I'd say this is kind of like a neutral dusky pink. It's very similar to our natural lip tone but obviously more punchy, and as you can see it works beautifully with the colours on the eyes and the cheeks. To add a subtle glow to the tops of the cheekbones, I'm going back in with BECCA's Royal Glow, and I'm using a ZOEVA fan brush to apply this to the very tops of the cheekbones and a very light amount above the arch of the eyebrow. To set everything in place, I'm using Too Faced's Peach Mist. I'm using this every single day at the moment. It's infused with peach and sweet fig milk and it smells so beautiful. I'm then taking my MAC Powder Puff and pressing this setting spray into the skin, and this is going to remove any of that powdery residue that we've got from the finishing powder. Then we took Abbie's hair down and just gave it a quick curl so you get a better idea of what the makeup looks like for a night out. Once again, these eyeshadow colours would look perfect on any eye colour, but it particularly makes blues and greens that much more punchy. And here's a little close up of Abbie's skin so you can see how natural it looks with this foundation on. So guys, what do you think? Please let me know what you thought of the look in the comments section below. As always, I love to hear from you guys. If you've got any suggestions, again, leave those in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed already, then please do so. If you'd like to follow me outside of YouTube, my social handles are on screen, as is my previous tutorial if you missed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!